okay, so this is how I would take a client from zero and scale them up past $150,000 a month in revenue. Again, okay, I've done this multiple times, got testimonials to prove it, got active clients right now that I work with, and this is what I present to them when we sign them on and get to work. So I just want to show you what I would do. Again, number one, I would work on their mindset. Whenever you're working with a client, it's important that you're both aligned long term on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. The art of presenting a webinar is extremely valuable. The thing is, if I'm talking to a client, potential client that wants to run webinars, there's a high probability that they're good at speaking and presenting already naturally. They're successful in some capacity. So people like this typically have excellent communication skills. Now, if they don't, it's something that needs to be worked on. We've actually had a client that wasn't presenting. He's an ecom head. So, he's behind the scenes. He's doing his ecom things all the time. But for his education program, he has to present a webinar. So we actually had to talk to him about it. Like, hey, pretty sure, we've had a few conversations, pretty sure that you're going to have to get comfortable with presenting. So his mindset was very, very important that we addressed it early on. Like, look, you're not going to be perfect. You're going to feel like shit after your first couple webinars because, to be honest, you're probably not going to convert that well, and you have to be okay with that. I reference paper trading and live trading on this because presenting a webinar that you don't spend money on is like paper trading. You have to put money in, you have to put your nuts on the table per se in some capacity for it to feel real. So that's why when we start off, we spend very, very small amounts of cash, and the amount of people that are registering are just very, very minimal because we are lowering the risk involved. Paid traffic means unlocking massive pools of potential clients. If you are an organic offer owner watching this and you're like, well, I have organic, why do I need a webinar? The thing is organic, and I'm sure that you're great at finding organic, but it can be frustrating because you have to constantly go viral, and getting your content into new eyes outside of your existing audience is not always the easiest thing. If you understand the algorithm better than I do, fantastic. You don't need paid traffic, but most offer owners at some point, if they want predictability and if they want that confidence that they know that if they put money into something that they can get more money out, right? A money multiplier. Webinars are a great way to go about it for paid traffic. I see a lot of people are scared of paid traffic. They get broke people on their calls. They get people that don't really know what's going on. They get confused. Like, they have people that have watched 4 different traders or 4 different ecom heads, and they don't know which one you even are. They booked 5 calls. Webinars completely change that. It gets you extremely familiar because it's you're condensing the sales cycle into 3 days, and you're taking them from cold strangers into paying clients extremely fast. All right. Webinar and challenge events are very good for this as well. It's when you show them look, for example, I've had a ecom client. He landed a wholesale supplier live in 3 days. He did the back and forth, everything, got the deal signed in front of his clients live in 3 days. That was the challenge funnel. And so obviously there's high conviction when the live attendees are watching the offer owner do this. They gain a lot of conviction, oh damn, he just did this in front of me. Relentless lead creation and outreach. What happens is when you are running webinar ads, you create a lot of registrants, you create a lot of attendees that did not book calls. You get people that book a call after the webinar that don't show up. These are all extremely, extremely high intent leads. Even if they haven't booked yet, they might book later. So we hit them with follow-up sequences to get them on calls down the road and whatnot. I'll talk more about that when I talk about marketing. But point being is, with a good setter, you're able to take all these leads and you have your inbound calls, but then you also have these other people that you can actually get set on appointments. And especially when you're spending small amounts of money and big amounts of money, having proper setting and outbound allows you to get obviously more cash in, which lets you fuel the ad spend for the next webinar. That's the whole point. You're literally trying to just get as much return on ad spend as possible so you can continue to scale the webinar operation. Because webinars are on Wednesdays and Sundays, eventually we get to 2 webinars per week. It keeps your sales calendar filled consistently as well. Wednesdays, get Thursday, Friday, and Saturday filled out. Sundays, get Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays filled out. So your sales team is extremely happy, and they typically get their Sundays off. And then those challenge events we do quarterly. So When it comes to how I would go about starting from scratch, first off, I would just make sure that the client's mindset is on the same page and is aligned with what we're looking to do. This could take getting to 100K 90 days, which we've done 150K in 90 days. Or this could take up to 6 months. Okay. If your goal is to get to $1 million a month, then that could take up to a year before you're able to get there. You may not break through proof of concept and get to a point where you're like profitable. You may not get there for like the first 3 or 4 webinars. Our most recent e-commerce client, his first 3 webinars, and he only spent about $4,000 on those 3 webinars combined total. He converted $0, like $0 was made from the inbound, and I think he got like 2 calls booked out of all those. But the reason is he was getting reps. Like, he wasn't good, and he knew it, so that's okay. He was getting reps, and then as we started to get more calls booked, and we were able to get some cash in from the inbound calls, his confidence grew because he saw that he had made significant progress, and the proof was in the pudding as far as how many calls were getting booked. So what we would do is ensure that you're only spending a minimal, like maybe $300 a day, and you're taking these calculated gambles once per week, so that way your stress is mitigated as well. Okay. And before you go into it, you already have a budget set aside. Like, let's say, I want to spend up to $10,000 on marketing, no more, no less. Okay. So I'm willing to part with $10,000 to figure this thing out. So we're going to be very, very careful about how much we're spending. Remember, our objective is to have you do this long term. We want you to work with us long term. We want you to continue to run webinars because, of course, there are cash grabs twice a week. So after you get to that 30K a month, that proof of concept, and your offer owner really starts to feel confident with their ability to present, mind you, we help with that. We provide feedback. I will send like our guys, excellent public speakers to imitate and incorporate into what they do. We help with every aspect of it. Once you're warmed up and you're doing like 30 to 50K a month, your sales rep is setting and closing about 30 to 50K per month. So that way they're making like, a solid $4 or $5,000 per month. They're able to pay their bills. We can shift into 2 webinars per week. What happens here, just by simply increasing the volume, is that we're able to run twice as many webinars, double up the revenue without really even making that many tweaks. Now we can increase spend a bit, but without even making any tweaks to ad spend, we're able to double up the revenue because now we have a profitable ROAS, okay? At this point, your offer owner is really, really starting to feel themselves. They're starting to get confident. They start to understand like the process of it. And what happens is you start having people that were attending webinars from before when the pitch wasn't that good. They maybe start visiting again and watching the webinars again because we run to those audiences that we've discovered already. We hit them with certain campaigns that bring them back in, very, very interested. And we start seeing email leads from back then start converting. And so the ROAS from the first original webinars actually start going up as well. At that point, the team begins hitting their stride. You start seeing the closing numbers just improving, just like the presenter is getting better. So is the sales team. And the ads start zeroing in on the target audience as well, the desired audience as well. So these things make a big difference very, very quickly. Remember, this could be within like 30 days. This could be within 30 to 60 days of getting started with your webinars. It could take up to like 3 to 4 months, but this is something where you're profitable, you're making your money, and you're starting to realize just how powerful your ability to sell one-to-many is. At that point, we want to hit a full sprint once we start doing this. We're running 2 webinars per week. We continue to run them. We increase our spend. Our top client is right now spending over $5,000 per day on ads. We're running over $20,000 per webinar cycle. So we run 2 of them. So we're spending about $40,000 per week on ads. And I remember when we were bumping and we hit some of these thresholds, some of these benchmarks in terms of ad spend, it feels like your heart is going to pound out of your chest, but at the same time, day 1, day 2, you're hearing feedback from the setters, the call confirmers. You're hearing people like enthusiastic. You're talking to people that have money. You're seeing in the webinar, people are saying, I make over $20,000 a month. And those are the people that you're selling to, so you know they're financially qualified. It's It's exhilarating. It's a thrill. If you are aware of the info space, if you make money in the info space, if you believe that you have the ability to present, you have an offer that is very, very valuable, and you feel like people truly benefit when they are able to work with you, you should have this mandate where you feel obligated to pitch your webinars, because your webinars are going to change lives. You're going to take an absolute stranger that's never heard of you, and within 3 days, they're going to trust you with $5,000. They're going to trust you with $8,000. They're going to trust that you're going to be able to get them their desired outcomes, because within 3 days and through a proper presentation, you've shown them that you know what you're talking about. You've given them the conviction to trust you and work with you, and it allows you to start sprinting to $1 million months. Webinars are probably the best way to legitimately hit $1 million a month. It's something that I've seen firsthand. It's something that I've operated about 30-40% of in terms of $1 million a month with strictly webinars, and it's absolutely the meta. So my team, just a little soft pitch, we do the email, SMS, ad scripting, setting, closing, funnel optimization, hiring. And when I say this, we invest heavily every month into making sure that we are cutting edge. We have the most up-to-date, like resources and information. Like, for example, if you're seeing this now and you're thinking like, wow, webinars are a good thing to run. I mean, we've been running webinars for over a year now. We've been aware of this, and we've known that this is the meta for over a year now. And we've been doing really, really well with it. Mind you, we take clients from 0 to 250 to 300K. Okay. So that's a lot more impressive than somebody taking an offer from like 700K to $1 million a month that's already running and whatnot. We literally provide the training wheels. We provide the ability to make mistakes. We're patient. We're technically a smaller agency, but we're very, very effective. Very, very, proven. So we handle all that, and we can show you exactly how to do this. Hope you learned a little bit. I'll talk more about different aspects of all of this in future videos.